BBOR, Black Box Online Radio, coming to you from West Virginia at heart and from around the globe. And hello everybody, today is Thursday. Welcome to this special presentation of Black Box Online Radio. Normally on Thursdays I come to you live for True Crime Talk Radio in the morning, but this episode is a little bit different, and I'm going to be talking to you all about the CIA PsyOp manual and its contents. I did an episode recently on the channel called The Zodiac Killer D.B. Cooper PsyOp, and I was reminded that the CIA PsyOp manual is something that is available online for free. It was made available to the public in 2017 because of a FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act, but there is an even larger version of it that is available for purchase on Amazon.com. The free version has 91 pages. The for purchase version has 100 pages, and I really wanted to talk to you guys about how the CIA creates these types of psychological operations. Now, this is a short book that does contain a lot about the political situation in Nicaragua during the 1980s, and there's a lot of content that is exclusively relevant to that, and I'm not going to focus on that specific set of ideas, because I am much more curious and much more fascinated by the parts that are available to everyone and just about how psychological operations and psychological warfare take place, period. Firstly, to provide some introductions, I always wondered this about how and why people share ideas. Like, say, for example, if you just get up in front of a group of people and you tell them what your idea is, they won't necessarily go along with it. They won't necessarily comprehend it. They might even get mad at you for expressing a particular idea. I noticed this very early on in life, that people seemed receptive only to certain types of ideas and certain methods for sharing them. And I always wondered how that was. And the CIA PsyOp manual talks a lot about that, how to go about it, how people convince large amounts of people to do certain things, and more importantly, to get behind a particular cause. Before I say anything further, I would like to remind you that you can check out some of the other content here on Black Box Online Radio. As I said, I have an episode called The Zodiac Killer D.B. Cooper PsyOp. I'll include a link down there, pinned below, and you can also hit the like button and subscribe if you want to follow along with all of these discussions. It really helps out the channel. And feel free to go through some of the links in the description box. One of them is for buymeacoffee.com. Buymeacoffee.com/blackboxnid88 allows you to make a donation or contribution to help support the show, and anybody who makes a donation will get a shout out on Zodiac Monday, talking to you about the Zodiac Killer, Ripper Wednesday talking about Jack the Ripper, and Cooper Friday talking about D.B. Cooper. So the first thing the CIA can do is they can go to an organization that already exists by using an operative or an informant, and they can find someone who is containing two specific qualities. The first is persuasive powers, and the second is capabilities. Now, if this is going to be something that is more related to military-related issues or militias or guerrilla warfare, they also want combat capabilities, to be precise. But for more politically based things, this could be just someone who has a certain type of skill set in terms of just capabilities that are relevant to their job. And this can even exist in somewhat of an innocent way. And it's talked about this very clearly in the PsyOp manual, that the person that might be recruited will start out genuinely believing in their cause. And you might be wondering, where do they find these people? For example, a labor union, a youth group, agricultural organizations, people who have persuasive powers and capabilities. You can think about this when you look at certain things like stories and TV shows even. There are different roles that are played by people in the group. If there's a group of three people or three characters, one is normally the leader, one is the brains, and one is the muscle. And they talk about this in the business world, that a business needs a manager, a technician, and an entrepreneur. The manager is, of course, the leader, the entrepreneur is the brains, and the technician is the muscle. And it's very similar to about how this is operating. You're looking for someone who is going to be the manager, going to be the leader. and specifically going to be a leader who is able to mobilize and get people behind his or her cause. And at first, this person is going to be very hesitant once they're approached by someone associated with the CIA because, well, they're just like, hey, I'm just, working with this labor union or youth group or agricultural movement or non-political entity. But with certain persuasive tactics that are not elaborated upon in the manual, they can be persuaded to do the CIA's bidding. And because they are not specified, I can only gather that this is going to be something to the effect of, you do what we want, or we kill you. You have two choices. You die, or you get power and money and go along with our agenda. Now, that is just me connecting the dots. I want to be very precise about that. So, the reason why they want to go after these people is they are good at mobilizing followers. They're good at getting people behind their causes. And the way that you get people behind a cause is not through military force. It is not through might makes right. It is through the usage of ideas, through the implementation of ideas. We no longer live in the world where if you pick up the biggest rock, you get to be in control. Instead, someone is going to communicate a message to a group of people en masse. And these are the things that I was saying, like, how do you communicate a message to make people act like you agree with them? Number one, if you have like 100 people in the group, the leader just doesn't come to everybody and say, hey, on Saturday, I want to meet with you one by one, and I want you to tell me how you feel, and I'll tell you how you're important to the group. No, this has to be done by sharing the message to a large group of people. And this is done by saying that you are on their side. There are three major things that need to be focused on. The unity for struggle, we're all struggling in this together, freedom of expression, and concentrating on a specific goal or idea. Unity for struggle, freedom of expression, concentrating on the goal or a specific idea, and this will allow the leader to persuasively engage with the followers. And when this is done to a large group, then there are going to be some people in the group that are still going to be hesitant, and then they're still going to think, well, I really don't agree with what this person is saying. But if you're sharing it to 100 people, 200 people, 300 people, some who disagree with the message are going to go along with it anyway because of social pressures. And as I've been going through the CIA PsyOp manual, it seems like so many things in this text are all about using social pressures, all about pressure points, period. As I said, even though I'm the one who connected the dots, that whole thing about blackmail is also a form of pressure in its own right. Okay, though, now what's the overall goal for the CIA to do? Is it just to grab one leader of a labor union or something and turn the followers to the CIA's cause? No. If you have 200 to 300 people who are acting as CIA operatives or CIA informants, then they are going to be able to mobilize 10 to 20,000 people. That's what it says in this manual. Those are the expectations. 200 to 300 people who are acting as the leaders for this type of cause or movement will be able to mobilize 10 to 20,000 people. And then all of a sudden, they are going to go along with whatever agenda it is that the CIA wants them to do. These are psychological operations, and this is how the masses can be brainwashed. And there's some very technical things that are involved in the spreading of propaganda and so on. And I said I wouldn't get too specific on the stuff from Nicaragua, but they talk about how people often associate weapons with power. So by spreading the image and the introduction of more weapons to the society, say perhaps in a third world country, this creates the image of power, just that leading people to believe that by obtaining more weapons, such as firearms, such as machine guns, then they are going to have more power. So these people are also going to try and collect more weapons to get more power. Now, there's one book that I talk about a lot on Black Box Online Radio, and it's called Confessions of an Economic Hitman by John Perkins. And it explores all of these things involved with the psychological operations. And the people that I've been talking about that are like the 100 to 200 people who act with persuasive powers and capabilities, those people are called agitators in the book. I mean, they're called leaders and they're leading people to agitation, but they're called agitators. John Perkins calls them the jackals, and he says that the way that the It's not only the CIA, but the way that governments can also control people, say perhaps in a different country, is if they want someone to go along with their agenda. Let's say hypothetically you have country A and country B. Country A wants country B to do what it wants, and country B says, no, we're an independent nation, we don't have to do what you want. At first, they can try to control the situation economically, and by doing that, they are going to crash the market in certain ways. They can affect trade and commerce. Economic control, sanctions can even be involved, and if that doesn't work, they can send in the jackals. These are the types of agitators who are meant to cause internal uprisings, who are meant to use these types of social pressures. Everything that I've just laid out, everything from the PsyOp manual to organize people to lead some type of internal uprising and military-backed coup. That's the second one. And the third one is, if that doesn't work, then they can do a full-scale military invasion, pending that country A is more powerful than country B, but of course it is, and that's why it's going to take place in this particular way. So a lot of this is done to control certain political movements, but it is also done, I think, just these are the ways that people are trying to share ideas in a way that can influence large amounts of people. Another way that can be used is loyalty of thought. And this is done almost in a deceptive tactic where you might see somebody giving a speech. As I said, I really think this goes so far beyond Nicaragua in the 1980s. But somebody can be giving a speech, whether it's a group leader, a politician, anybody, and they sound like they're saying things that are beneficial to you, but in reality, they are just doing an assessment of everybody in the group, all of their constituents, all of their followers, and they're saying an enormous amount of words that relate to what people want to hear. Yes, we care about your family. We care about your financial success. We care about your well-being and happiness. And it's a speech. It's going to go on for minutes, maybe even hours, and then it's going to connect with different people in different ways, and there's going to be some part of that speech that your leader is saying to you that is going to hit you in a particular way, and then that leader is saying something that, wow, I really resonate with that part of the speech. I agree with that part. This person is on my side. Loyalty of thought. I want to follow this leader, and I'm now behind this cause. And, I mean, just goes to show you, it's not just simply this is my idea, these are the reasons why I support it. No, it's this person is saying that, well, I'm not even necessarily telling you what my idea is. I'm just acting like I have power and I am on your side and I am going to help you get that thing that you want. And the way that I will help you is by allowing you to follow me. And this all goes into the psychological operation. Now, there are some things in here that deal with very technical things about organizing, fighters, for example, and yes, lots about guerrilla warfare. And you can even see how this could relate to something such as the militia movements or even certain extremist groups. What do? They go to camp. They build a camp. They set up a camp somewhere in the wilderness. And you might be thinking, well, extremist groups and militias, those people want to be away from civilization anyway, so they won't be interrupted, right? Well, that's sort of what the CIA PsyOp manual is saying, is that when they build a camp far away from any civilized area, that creates fewer distractions. And then the leader instructs different members of the group to perform certain actions, to perform certain duties, everything from cooking to setting up the latrines, like the toilet areas. And once again, unity of thought, loyalty of thought, concentrating on the struggle. We are all in this together, and it's making people feel like they believe that they belong to a particular group. And the way that the leader can act like he or she is one of the people is by identifying with them. You'll see countless times a politician or someone who is in a high-ranking power situation is going to go out into the fields and work alongside the peasants for a photo op. They're going to visit a factory. They are going to do something at one of the county fairs or something like that and act like they are side by side with the people. They're going to act like they're on the side of the people, but in reality, that's just a publicity stunt. And also, it's just meant to show that They're all on the same side. And I've been talking about persuasive behavior for a lot on my channels. I'm also the host of AstroPsych 400, and I did an episode about persuasion over there. It's called Persuasion Classics. And it was based a lot on the writings of Scott Adams, who hosts the show Real Coffee, and he talks specifically about persuasion tactics and how they are used. And he wrote a book called Win Bigly, Persuasion in a World Where Facts Don't Matter. I'm going to give one spoiler away. There's one page in the book, Win Bigly, that has 3 words written on the entire page, and the preceding page says, the 3 most valuable words in the world of persuasion are we the people. So these leaders, the agitators, these people who are doing the bidding of the CIA act like they are on the side of a particular group. They act like they are part of the cause. They act like they are part of some type of movement. But in reality, they're doing the bidding of the CIA. Maybe they started out honest and innocent, but they were pulled into this through some sort of means, and by the manual's own admission, they were pressured into this. Now, there's some additional parts of the manual that get a little bit darker, such as Section 5 on page 33 that says, the selective use of violence for propaganda effects. We could neutralize carefully selected and planned for targets such as court judges, cattle judges, police, state security officers, CDS chiefs, and I'm not even going to read any more than that because I think that this episode would be banned if I went through that whole thing, but the whole point is, it ties into something that John Perkins put forward about if all of these persuasive powers do not work, then they will resort to physical violence, and then they can always blame it on somebody else. But you see how using this network of operatives and informants will be very difficult to trace back. However, all of this is coming from the CIA PsyOp manual itself. And one of the less dark and morbid sections is actually on page 41 when it talks about techniques of persuasion in chats and speeches. Again, these are the things that people are using to communicate ideas to large groups of people. Number 1, be simple and concise. Number 2, use vivid and realistic examples. Number 3, use gestures to communicate. Number 4, use the appropriate tone of voice. And number 5, above all, be natural. And you might be thinking about some people who are in the political world who just aren't very good at putting on the natural facade, where they definitely come across as someone who is rehearsed or somebody who just doesn't seem very sincere. And I'm not saying any names because I want you guys to kind of think of who comes to mind, but there are definitely some clear-cut examples of that. But this just goes to show you that people are vilifying someone. They are choosing an enemy. They're saying that we are on your side against this enemy. We are all together in this. We are loyal in thought. We are concentrating on the struggle. And then they're using vivid and realistic examples. They're saying, this person has done these bad things to you. We care about this thing that you want, and we're going to keep fighting for it. And of course, going to say stuff like we're on the side of your freedom of expression and so on, when in reality, they don't care at all. They are just trying to obtain power. And I think that's really what the CIA PsyOp manual is all talking about. It's all about just obtaining power through the means of controlling thoughts and ideas. And as the manual goes on to page 63, there's a section on incorporation. And just to read one segment, the merging of organizations recognized by a government, such as associations and other groups, their internal subjective control in the final stages of the operation can be organized through mass meetings. Okay, so you got this 200, 300 person set of operatives, agitators, people who are the persuasive and capable leaders, and they're just making lots of noise within the groups. And then over time, you can unify this group of 200 to 300 people, and then you have all of the people that they have put together, Group A, Group B, Group C, Group D, all comes behind the same cause, and they all want to target a government, a leader. They want to target some type of powerful entity, and now they have mobilized mass amounts of people to believe a particular cause. But you might be wondering, are all of these organizations honest? Like I said, they recruit people from places like labor unions, youth movements, agricultural movements, non-political entities. Those are the names that are listed in the book. But as far as the CIA goes, some of you might be wondering, Well, doesn't the CIA create fake organizations, period? Don't they create fake company names, the dummy corporation or the dummy organization? And the answer to that is, according to this manual, yes. And this is one of the concluding sections of the same section that I was just reading. The development and control of facade organizations in warfare will provide a movement with the capability of creating the effect of backlash within the population when the order to merge is given. So are some of these organizations purely a facade and they've just been organized by other agitators, and the even the principal agitator isn't even aware of that? Well, they probably know at a certain point, but yes, some of these movements, some political movements, are purely facades created by the CIA. And to be very clear, it says organizations, so let's just say some organizations are pure facades. But I think you can get the idea on how all of these things are working. And you can get the idea on how people are controlling certain types of ideas and sharing certain persuasive commands to large groups of people. But I would love to know your response to all of this. What do you think about propaganda? What do you think about persuasive tactics? What do you think about the CIA trying to infiltrate just various aspects of our daily life? Because this could be done so far beyond Nicaragua in the 1980s. Any politician could be using these tactics. Any major organization could be using these tactics. Any CEO could be using these tactics. Like, you ever seen that stuff like Undercover Boss, where somebody pretends to work alongside the employees and it's actually the CEO dressed up as a blue-collar worker and then comes out and says he's the CEO? All of this stuff could be done. These types of things where people are trying to say that they're on your side, they're part of the struggle. You'll have loyalty, unity of thought, and this all comes together. We the people, but in reality, someone is just trying to mobilize people using specifically crafted language with deception to get a desired result. Please share something in the comment section down below. And next week I will be returning for the live streams here on Black Box Online Radio, True Crime Talk Radio in the morning, coming to you on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And tomorrow I will see you guys for an episode about D.B. Cooper Friday here on Black Box Online Radio. Anybody can write the show at blackboxonlineradio@AOL.com. You can also get me on Facebook. My personal Facebook is Ned DeHaan. There's also a Facebook page for Black Box Online Radio. And you can get me on Instagram at blackboxned88. And you can download the audio version of this program as a pure podcast on Spotify under the names Black Box Podcast and Black Box True Crime. That will be all for me now. Until next time.